and welcome to episode 21 of The Driving Experience. If you're into driving for fun and adventures, restoring cars, racing, or anything car or driving related, this is a podcast just for you, The Driving Experience. This is your host, Kevin Pennell. If racing is your dream, then you're going to love this whole episode. Settle back and enjoy the ride. I'm talking with Ryan Cheek once again, who has returned from her first driving experience at the famed Pikes Peak International Hill Climb for 2024. Ryan has had quite the experience there, to say the least. She also talks about further insights on racing for ALS, her cars, the American Cross Kart, and even how you could get started in racing. Ryan Cheek is talking about living her dream of racing on this episode of The Driving Experience. Hey Ryan, and welcome back to The Driving Experience. You've had some experiences recently, to say the least. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Kevin. Thank you so much for having me back on. It has been quite a whirlwind since the last time we spoke on camera.
Whirlwind is an understatement. Goodness gracious. I probably have all kinds of questions. We've done such a good job in literally play-by-play stuff on Facebook and what took place and everything. So many of us were behind you 1,000%, and we're still behind you 10,000% for next year. But I think let's start right off with Pikes Peak and what comes to mind on that driving experience. And if you don't touch on a couple of things, I'll ask. How's that? So how was the trip? We'll start with that.
So the trip, I had been out there in 2023 and volunteered, and I knew what the elevation was going to do to my body. So we went out almost 2 weeks prior to race day. I showed up on June 10th and race day was June 23rd. So I had about a week before all the commotion got really started to kind of acclimate. And I wish I could say it helped a lot, but it's, 8,000, 9,000 feet of elevation really takes its toll when you're only used to like 2,000 feet of elevation. But Colorado is beautiful, always welcoming. And then getting settled in and getting ready for Pikes Peak it's so hard to describe because it's like panic, excitement, anxiousness, just pure adrenaline, exhaustion, and just loving every moment of it. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I'm just that type of person, but I loved it. It was amazing.
Yeah. Well, it's that mindset for anybody that's into driving experiences. I mean, it is truly exciting. I mean, we can even get excited by the new the new upgrade that we've done to an engine or something like that. I mean, it's just, oh yeah, this is so good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's kind of where we go. So, you did your fair share of test runs and everything went pretty smooth. I say smooth. You had some fun. You had some fun with the turbo too, I seem to recall, didn't you?
We did. So between the weather and then obviously like my first time. So my first practice day was on Tuesday prior to race day. And I ran the middle section. So that's from Glen Cove up to about Devil's Playground. And that was the longest hill climb I had ever done. And that was just like my first practice. And luckily it was just chilly. The weather was fairly clear. And it was just terrifying. You're actually above the tree line. And as somebody who has grown up in the Appalachian Mountains where the tree line goes all the way to the top, and you usually get this warm hug feeling from trees running next to the road, when there's no trees next to the road, you just don't want to look off. It is just, it's something very, very new. So my very first run was, number one, my longest hill climb I had ever driven, like in a like a sprint kind of thing. And then also just the sheer kind of terror that you're feeling because you're like, oh, I have to push the car now. It makes you think. And honestly, I almost didn't even leave the start line because the car in the naturally aspirated situation, we did put a turbo on the 750cc Suzuki Gixxer motor, but at low RPMs, it's NA. So I'm trying to take off at I believe Glen Cove is 11,000 feet above sea level, and the car just almost died. And I was like, oh no, I can't even take this run. And my Scott, the team owner, he's like, no, just ride it out, just keep going, just roll through it. And it was, I don't know, until about the first curve when the turbo hit, and then it was like a roller coaster ride. It was just like immediate speed and terrifying and exhilarating that I do have power. And it was just ride it out for the rest of the time. And it was wild. You sit up at the top, you're just below, you're like right next to Devil's Playground, and you're looking out and you have more than a 180-degree view, and you're watching the sun come up over to the right, you're watching your fellow race car drivers coming up to the left, and it's magical.
Hmm.
It was wild.
So, just for the heck of it, can you explain what natural aspiration engines are?
Okay, so that is a non-forced induction. There's no turbo, there's no supercharger on it. It is just gas, fire, and air creating power.
Okay. Okay. So you could have a fuel injection, but
Correct.
yeah. Okay.
Correct.
So,
We are fuel injected, not a carbureted
yeah.
engine.
Yeah, I kind of figured that, but so that clarified it. I was even curious about it because I keep hearing it, and I had a pretty good idea, but I wanted to hear it from you because I knew that you had some first-hand experience with
Yeah,
something like
the
that.
cart that I'm driving, the 2021 American Cross Kart, literally has just a 750cc Suzuki GSXR engine and the matching transmission, and literally nothing else done to it. Like it was just straight from a motorcycle put into this amazing cross cart that Scott McMillan has built, and then he was like, "We need more power. Let's throw a turbo on it."
What is it? What is the brake horsepower on that?
So naturally aspirated, it's 130 to the wheels,
Okay.
and the total weight of the car was 850 pounds without a driver.
So do the ratio math on that of the power of something that much to something that weighs that little. And it's kind of
It's
mind-boggling.
it's so fast, and then you can adjust your gearing. So if you shorten all the gears and you only want to reach like 80 miles an hour, you can get there ridiculously quick. And so it just like in normal cars, it all kind of depends on your transmission and your gearing. And with the motorcycle engine, we change sprockets instead of entire transmission uh, gearing. So
Okay.
it's kind of like changing your differential on a full size car,
Okay. Yeah.
which I learned later on. But but yeah, the naturally aspirated version of the car is a little rocket ship, and then when we put the turbo on it, we actually were struggling with making too much boost because it again is just a straight engine from a motorcycle. It did not have any kind of forged internals, no built anything like that. It was just what can you do with a motorcycle engine and transmission, and then add a little turbo so you have power at the higher elevations, because the higher up you go, the thinner the air goes, which is
Right.
why you want to force more air into the engine to get more power. And that's what the goal was this year, and that's what we went for.
And you made it. I say you made your goal on that part, but tell us a little bit because I saw the pictures and the picture really is like, oh my gosh.
So
So where were you in that? Okay, so what happened? Well, I'll let you tell the story of the actual race day. So how's it
okay,
going?
so race day is the culmination of your entire practice week. You only get to practice one section at a time on during the practice week. So you have Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and Friday is typically an optional practice day. So for me, my schedule went on Tuesday, I ran the middle section. On Wednesday, I ran the upper section, and the weather was absolutely terrible. But as a rookie, I have to set a time on each of the three sections to be able to be eligible to compete on race day. And I ended up taking a run behind a safety truck, and I was literally 2 to 3 feet off of their bumper, and I could not see the truck. My car does not have heat. It does not have windshield wipers. We forgot to rain-X the windshield. There's bright blue, red, flashy lights ahead of me, and I can't see anything. It was one of the most terrifying drives I've ever done in my life, and it was about 6 minutes. um, and then I immediately turned right back around, followed the safety truck back down. So my upper section, I didn't get a lot of time. On Thursday was actually my qualifying time on the lower section. Everybody that runs on race day sets their time on the lower section, and that is how you run on race day, depending on your class and how fast you run. And Friday, they did allow a lot of people that didn't get their upper section like experience to run again. But guess what? The weather was super unpredictable and so foggy and sleet, and just you couldn't see 10 feet and like you couldn't see 2 feet in front of you. But then it did open up, and I did get one run up on the top section on some rain tires. So I kind of felt what the cart was going to do. And the upper section is one of the trickier spots. It's super bumpy. It looks like it should be a little bit more high speed because the turns are more sweepers instead of these switchbacks that you see in the middle section. So getting some time, and I ran it in like a 4 minute something, which is still not very fast, but I felt confident that I wasn't going to fly off the side of the mountain on race day. So when race day happened, I'm a rookie, and I am not shy about saying I am not a fast driver. I am not one of the fast boys on the hill, but I, again, happy to just be there and racing. So race day, I got to watch so many of my idols, so many wonderful kick butt racers race up the hill. I got to see Laura Hayes reset the female driver record. She also won her class that day. And then I also saw a lot of cars having mechanicals. Unfortunately, and I'm definitely going to relate to my ladies, but Lonnie Unser didn't make it up the hill, which everybody was really, really excited. Her qualifying times were extremely fast, and even her sector times during her run were incredibly fast. I watched very good friends of mine make it up to the top. Jeremy Lauder, which is another racing for ALS warrior, made it to the top. I was so stoked. Some of my mentors that had been coming over and helping me throughout the race week, like Yuri and Duncan Calpin, they made it to the top. So there was just so much excitement, and then also all the nerves. And then it's my turn. It's my turn to get in the car, and it's my turn to go. And they have somebody with a board, and they're telling you 10 minutes, and then they tell you 5 minutes, and then they tell you 3 minutes. And it was so hot. And it's about 2 or 3 p.m. at this time. I had been waiting since 6 a.m. to run. So not only did I go through all this excitement of watching all my friends run and all these amazing other people run, but I had my own jitters. So it was emotionally and physically draining just at that point. But when it was time to go, I was so ready. And we got the car. I actually had to get weighed one more time. I don't understand why they do that, but with the open wheel cars, I got weighed 3 times throughout the entire, it was during tech, and then on qualifying day, and then on race day. So I'm not sure what goes on with that. I would like to know. But I got weighed, and then I'm at the starting line, and I'm just trying to stay focused. I'm just like, okay, the car has been having like fuel issues, in which it was running too rich, and too much fuel would get into the motor. So I need to run the higher revs, even just idling, to keep the motor clear. So that's all going through my head, timing of when to start the car, because I don't want to just let it sit there and idle and rev forever, because we got heat soak going on. Like, there's a lot just at the start line, and everybody's cheering, and it's just, it's just so much stuff. But then you're like, I have to be a racer. I'm a driver right now. And you don't really get to take it all in, right? So you're just like focused on racing. And then the green flag drops. And I'm like, okay, we're going to give her some extra RPMs. We're going to ride the clutch out so we can get going. And she stalled. And I was
Mm.
like, okay. But I did move like half a foot, and nobody's allowed to touch the car once it moves after the green flag. So I'm pushing the starter button. I don't have a key. I push the starter and I'm kind of revving, trying to clear out that gas. She gets going a little bit and I give her some more gas and I ride that clutch out, trying to just get her to go. And she stalls again. We stalled twice at the green light and or at the start, and it's just like I don't know what's going on. I've not had this situation the entire time. I do remember from my one almost stall at Glen Cove that I just need to give it more gas, ride the clutch longer to just get the motor going and just get moving forward. So here I am, like, okay, starting to panic. Don't panic. I push the starter again and it's cranking and it's cranking and I can see the RPMs jumping up to almost 500. And so I'm banging the gas. I'm like, come on, girl, just start. Let's just give this a go. And she gets going and I ride the clutch. I probably burnt the clutch
I
just
was going to say.
trying to get her going on that launch. And she finally did. We got moving. I learned really quickly that I didn't have full throttle capabilities. I had a rev limiter issue. So I was really just, even through start, even like, so you go under this amazing start arch and it's so iconic. Like even going through there, I'm still trying to figure out how much gas I can give this car. Is she going to die? Like, what can I do? I can't back all the way off the gas because she wants to stall. And I'm like, okay, so I got to stay in the gas to a certain point, but I can't go past a point because it'll limit my rev. So I have to be super smooth on the accelerator. I can only push it down about a third of the way. And the car is not the same car I had driven all week. We are now in this lovely dance of rhythmic of we don't have the car we thought we had. And I heard
Mm.
the little voice. I heard the little voice and it said, just drive the car you have. And that's what I had to do. I just remembered where the accelerator could get pushed. I tried to work on my lines. I tried to work on carrying as much speed as I could through every turn. So that meant making that the flow of driving and hitting apexes and connecting all the turns. Like it just became a thing of hit your marks, do your thing, just get to the top.
Mm.
And the longer I drove it, the better it started feeling. So
Okay.
I got more confidence with the car. It was just as I was about coming through halfway picnic ground, I was like, okay, I can do this. This car's gonna make it. We're gonna do it. And in practice, I had hit sixth gear coming through halfway picnic ground, but I was only able to get to fifth gear. So I knew I was already going to be slower than I had been throughout practice, but it was fine. Goal of rookie year is just to make it to the summit. I go through the middle section. I go through the switchbacks. I'm pushing a little bit deeper into the braking zones. I'm trying to hit the gas a little bit around the turn before I engage the next gear because too much RPM drop, the car almost stalls. So
Right.
there's a lot of managing I'm having to do with the car. I come around the last turn before the straightaway at Devil's Playground where everybody's lined up and I'm like, we are gonna make it. This is awesome. Like I'm feeling on top of the world. I know this is a very fast section. I go through the straight, I come around the sweeper at the top, and I'm looking so far ahead because, that's racing. And I see the marmot. There's a marmot in the way. And I have remembered watching everybody else's runs and safety is dealing with marmots on the road. I'm like, well, here's the marmot. And he is in the downhill lane, but he's close to the double yellow. So the racing line would be to go behind him and close to the mountain. But we have groundhogs here in Western North
Yeah.
Carolina, and they always want to run to safety. So I made the choice to go, far in front of him. So hopefully they would run back to the mountain, and quickly dove back in behind him onto the racing line, took the sweeper at bottomless pit, and coming out of that turn, I was in second because it was just a sweeper, and I couldn't get the car really. It felt like it was going to stall. So I went down to first, more RPMs. Come on, girl, you got this. And I fought her. And then she limited the rev. So we went back to second. And then she kind of puttered up. And then she started going. And then there was like a pop. And a bunch of smoke came forward. And we just stopped moving forward. And in my brain, I was like, no. And I kind of just kept my foot planted to the floor, like, we've overcome things. This is going to be fine. And it wasn't fine, and I was like, well, where is the best place for me to be, like, offline? I don't want to be dripping fluids. And, you're on the side of the mountain. I didn't know what to do. So we just, both feet in, come to a complete stop. We have a rally safe system in the cars on Pikes Peak, and they'll show you if you have a yellow flag or a red flag, but it's also GPS sensitive. So it noticed that I came to a stop on the course, and it's like, are you okay? I was like, I mean, not mentally, but yes, physically. And then it was like, are you an obstruction on the race course? And I had to say yes, because I'm in the middle of the road. So I definitely feel that was my first thought, is the whole event had kind of been plagued by so many red flags, so many reruns. I mean, Jimmy Ford, I think, got 3 reruns in his carbureted Mustang car. So, I was just like, dang it, I caused another red flag. But then it was like, but I made it this far,
Yeah. Yeah.
And, safety came and got me turned around. I actually got to spend the rest of the race sitting at an overlook at bottomless pit. I watched all the marmots. I saw the big horned sheep. So, if there was ever a place to break down, it was one of the most beautiful places I could have imagined, but it definitely was not the end of the race that we had hoped for.
Yeah. So what exactly did happen? I saw pictures of it.
We are still trying to figure out exactly what caused everything. We are seeing some little crumbs and seeing what might have happened, but when everything was said and done, the rod from cylinder 1 had yeeted itself out of the engine block and was up against the back of the firewall. And, honestly, I'm really glad nothing worse happened. I was safe. The car didn't catch on fire or anything like that, but it was a catastrophic engine failure.
Okay.
And, it definitely could have been a culmination of the heat pushing the car for that long, that high elevation. I mean, it was probably like all the above.
Mm.
But so we're still figuring it out. And I believe that American Cross Kart is in for doing this again next year, and
Okay.
we're going to be a lot more prepared for sure.
Okay. So I have to say that when I looked at the picture, I obviously I misread it because I thought it had something to do with suspension, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what would that be like to lose steering control or whatever in the middle of a Pikes Peak run, and you got 12,000 feet below you, and you go, oh my gosh, what do I do now? But at least it sounds horrible from my perspective, but thank goodness it was the engine.
Absolutely. And that was probably like my fourth thought was, well, at least I didn't put it into the mountain. At least I didn't mess up. There was on one of my runs in the middle section, they call it the dog legs, and it's the W's. And one of the last ones before you come up to Devil's Playground, it has a turn to the left. It looks like a sweeper, but it's a decreasing radius. And I didn't quite realize it was so decreasing. And I was like, this is a full throttle place. And I was going full throttle and I started doing the turn in, and the car, it took a moment to set and turn in, but that moment was like one of the most like bottomless, like little, I felt the bottomless pit again in my stomach. I was like, we're not turning. And all you're doing is just looking straight over a cliff. Like there's nothing, there's
Mm.
nothing. If you don't make the turn, you just gone. And when that happened, I was like, okay, we're gonna reevaluate full throttle areas. We're gonna drive this so conservatively. So
Yeah.
that was
Well,
a pucker moment for sure. And then the bird. I almost hit a bird that same
yeah.
run. It was a
Yeah.
lot. There's
Yeah.
just so much stuff.
It can be. Um, so you have been running the car since Pikes Peak. So did you swap engines or what did you do?
So we have American Cross Kart has two carts. One of them has the safety that is up to par for Pikes Peak, and then one is the backup cart. And the backup cart is naturally aspirated, but it doesn't quite have all the safety, which would be like there's a metal plate on the roof for the Pikes Peak cart, and there's not one on the backup cart. And there's just a couple other little things, but it's still just about FIA spec. Pikes Peak is just a little more aggressive on their safety for obvious
Oh,
reasons.
yeah.
Um, but no, I did get to run the backup cart naturally aspirated at the Flag Rock Hill Climb in Norton, Virginia. So we left Colorado on Tuesday and we arrived in Virginia. I was supposed to be there Thursday, but I was tired, so I showed up Friday morning. American Cross Kart drove from Colorado and never got to go home. They went straight to Flag Rock. For that event for me with a backup cart. And Flag Rock, I have been going since the inaugural event. I love the town. I love the people. And the hill is fantastic. It's a hoot. It actually reminds me a lot of the middle section at Pikes Peak because it has a lot of switchbacks.
Hmm.
So I did get to run the backup cart and it felt amazing. I was very worried I was going to miss my turbo, but with the gearing that the backup cart had, it was so fast. It was actually so fast. I was running out of gear in 6 speed on, the high speed zone. So we did some minor adjustments and at lunchtime, and then I took one more run after lunch and I dropped even more time and ended up by the end of the weekend, that was the fastest run a woman had ran. So I reset the record by 2.6 seconds. And I also took home their Queen of the Hill trophy, which I had been after for so long. And it felt really good
I
to
was
bring
gonna,
that home.
I thought you would say it, but if you hadn't, I was all set to ask you. So tell us about the trophy that I saw on Facebook.
It's so big.
Yeah.
I didn't quite realize how large it was,
Does that
especially
thing have, does that
until
thing
I
have
had
light?
to hold it up. And it's all metal, like, it's got a big metal base. It's got the cutout of Queen of the Hill kind of stuff, which is double stacked. And then they put these LED lights on it so you can make it, change any color you want. And I got home with it, and my son, my 9-year-old son, he was like, I want that to be my nightlight. So that is in his room, and that is his nightlight now. So it's still getting a lot of good use.
That's pretty, that's incredible. That's a great story. That's so cool. So you've got another one coming up. You got that I just saw this morning. You got the Dragon Hill climb coming up. You said next week or so?
It's at the end of July, so I think I have 2 weeks. Please don't scare me like that. I need 2 weeks.
Okay.
Um, the Dragon Hill climb is actually down near the tail of the dragon in Robbinsville, North Carolina,
Hmm.
and it is actually the first competitive event that I did when I decided, I did autocross for a little bit, but then I was like, we're gonna do race car stuff, and hill climb ended up being the only event available. So I went and did a hill climb, and it was the Dragon Hill Climb in 2020. And so that's kind of where I got my feet wet. And that's actually 100% where I fell in love with hill climb. And I was like, oh no, this is my jam.
That's pretty cool. What are the dates on that again?
I
July is
believe,
the last weekend in July,
yeah, 27th, 28th, I believe.
and it's running both days or running one of those 2 days, like the 28th.
You you run both days, and you only have to set one fast lap. If you run your first run on Saturday and that you're like, that's good, you don't have to run anymore. That can be your winning run. But you usually get 4 to 5 runs a day, both days, Saturday and Sunday, and it only takes one run to win it.
Okay. And certainly wish you the best like we always do, and hope that that would be really cool for you to come out with that one. And I know it would be
Uh,
very, very special to you too. So
It
yeah.
will. I love the Dragon. So I ran it first time in 2020 and then 2021. And when I came back in 2022, I reset the fastest female and won Queen of the Hill. And they give you a sword, like a real deal sword. So
Nice.
that makes you feel pretty cool. And last year I had a little oopsie. I was close to being fastest, but I didn't make it. Congratulations to Michelle Abel, who did, who also returned after an oopsie and kicked butt. So I'm proud of her. But I am excited to go back this year and see what we can do. The carts are so capable. The Mustang is so capable, but the carts, they're it's just they're uncomparable. I can't even try to compare them. The Mustang I absolutely love. I love it on track. I love it on hill climbs. The the cart, not my favorite on track. It's very fast and twitchy, I guess would be the right word
Hmm.
to say. As Johann Schwartz has said, the shorter wheelbase is a little twitchy. So
Hmm.
so he was the driver of the American Cross Kart before I got into the seat, which his name is just like a legend with me. You know, he's a drift king, he's a professional racer. So to follow in his footsteps was intimidating, but he helped me out a lot actually. I did
Was
one
that
of his wet I did a wet skid pad control clinic that he offers at Carolina Motorsports Park,
okay?
and it helped me get so much more comfortable with the cart. And then I had a couple of fellow Racing for ALS drivers attend the event with me, and from beginning to end, their comfort in the car and feeling what it feels like to step out, how to maintain it, how to regain traction. Uh, Johann's a great teacher. Can't highly recommend that enough.
Is he the one that drove the car before you did? The same
He
one?
is,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
They went in 2021, but weather closed the top section. So he had to finish about Devil's Playground. So I did make it further than Johan, but we still have a big goal of reaching the summit with our American cross cards.
Yeah. And you won't really know anything about that for a little while, will you? About going back.
Um, Talking to so many people involved, I feel confident that if I apply, because you have to apply and get
Sure.
selected, I feel confident if we apply and we show that we have a car that believe will make it to the top. I don't think we're going to have a problem getting in, but, logistically, it's a very expensive race. It's a very time consuming, exhausting, and you can't do it alone. You have to have a team. I ended up my best buds, we call ourselves the Insane Hill Climb Posse, which you can laugh. I see you
I'm
snickering. You
smiling.
can
I'm
you can
smiling with you,
snicker,
not at you.
but we are a little crazy. But the whole crew came out and supported me and had a job. Like Lawrence Shue was in charge of my GoPros, and James was checking all my lug nuts, and we had people doing tire pressures and tire warmers, and my husband was doing the gas fill up. So you need support. It's a huge event. It's expensive, time consuming, and you have to have people that are just as crazy as you that want to wake up early in the morning and go hang out on a mountain.
And it's not just crazy, it's dedication. I mean, you have such a good team. I mean, it's obvious. Yeah, I got the smile, but I want to say again, I was not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you. I'm smiling with you inside. It's the radiating. So, yeah,
I
behind
am
you.
incredibly fortunate. I love my team so much.
Yeah, and it shows. And it's great. I love it. So, what happened to the Mustang? I gotta know. I even saw you posted something on Facebook not too long ago, something about what's going on, or something like.
I know. I go into the garage quite often and tell her how much I love her and that she's still my favorite white Mustang. So, but no, throughout the course of the year, we got picked up by Anderson Composites. So she has some fresh new carbon fiber panels. She's got a hood, door, and a trunk lid. And when you remove factory doors, you kind of lose some of your impact protection. So like side impact, because carbon fiber is like paper mache, but way cuter. And so she needs a full cage now. So we have pulled the rest of the interior. We are maintaining the dash and center console because I'm bougie and I'm not ready for 100% race car yet. Like, so she'll have air conditioning, but she's going to Wilson Racing Chassis in Mooresville to get a full cage this weekend. So I'm very, very excited. She was eligible to run hill climbs just with the 4 point, but since we've upgraded the motor, transmission, all this stuff, she's a lot faster. And I want her to be prepared just in case if, in 3 to 5, I don't know how many years, but I could take her to Pikes Peak. So she's
Mm,
getting some heavy duty stuff happening
that would.
this weekend. I'm very excited.
So, running back to Pikes Peak, there are classes in that. Are there not just like other like IMSA racing and stuff like that?
Absolutely. Yeah. So there's like exhibition class, there's open wheel class, which was mine. There's unlimited, there's a GT4 class, there's a Porsche Cup class, there's a couple other ones that I can't quite
Oh,
remember.
that's okay.
But there's not a ton. I think there's under 8. So it's not a lot of classes, but a lot of cars can fit into different classes, except for like the Porsche Cup and the GT4 class. So, um, I'm just in open wheel. When American Cross Kart ran in 2021, they did an exhibition class as like a new manufacturer. So I believe the Hyundai Ioniq 5 ran some exhibition classes and but yeah, so I mean, not to brag, but my class is the coolest. And like we have names like Cody Vachholtz and the O'Malley's and Cole Powelson. And then we got Yuri K. I always just call him K because I can't pronounce his last name. But Yuri is a great driver and a really super nice guy and was really, really helpful and nice to me on the hill. Like he drives a car for Richard Tomlin, and it's a like a V8 powered Miata, caged out Miata looking thing. It's just a beast. It's just the craziest thing. And uh just I don't know. I get really nostalgic when I start thinking about the time on the mountain.
Yeah.
It was a great moment.
And if people are listening to this for the first time and this is their first introduction to Ryan, Ryan is does have quite a presence on Facebook. And just to show you that she's just not giving lip service, if you have the opportunity to look up Ryan Cheek Racing, like and follow her, by the way. I will tell you that if she doesn't, I know she will, but I'm going to tell you anyway. So, but she's very happy and she's very proud of all the people that sponsor her. And if you don't believe it, just look at the list. She's got quite a list of people that are behind her, and there's so many of us behind her who want to see her do well. And maybe it's cliche or whatever, but I know I, for one, and my partner Vicky, for one, are both are pleased that you went and did what you did, but at the same time, we're quite happy that you stayed safe as well, because, you know, I don't think Vicky's been up to Pikes Peak. I have, and it is daunting just going up there and going up at high speed. I can't begin to understand or feel what that would be like. And it's like, my gosh. So yeah.
Yeah, it is something. There there's two ways I like to think about it. So the first week I was there, I had a rental car and I got to drive up the mountain all the time at normal speeds behind other drivers that are driving it for the first time. So that is actually when I was one of the most scared, because I was able to look off and over like, oh yeah, that is a lot. So but when you're actually racing it, like, you just keep your eyes on where you want to go. So you just keep your eyes on the pavement, and I really didn't see much more. And you just don't think about going off the pavement. Keep it on the pavement, keep it under control.
Yeah.
Drive a little conservatively, which is kind of my MO anyway. So
Yeah. Yeah. So American Cross Kart, how's it going? And because I went to its site, it's been a while, but I'm guessing they do build other cars but this is a team car. So how does that work as far, if somebody wanted to get an American Cross Kart, they probably could, but can you give us a little bit more
absolutely.
information on it?
For sure. So, it's currently a very small company, family owned, family built. They are ramping up for mass production. They currently have a couple of their spec cars that you can check out. They've gone down to Eagles Canyon, they have Eagles Canyon Raceway just designed some off-roading stuff. And Johan and American Cross Kart went down there and kind of showcased what the carts can do. And immediately Eagles Canyon was like, we're going to pick this up and we're going to run a spec cross kart off-road class. So they put in an order for 50 carts. So American
Mm,
Cross Kart's going to be busy on that front, but I know that they're prepared. They're very excited about doing that. And they're still creating cars for anybody that wants to buy one. The naturally aspirated car can be had under 40,000. And I believe that once we perfect our turbocharged car, you'll be able to pick one for under 50. Now that might change just depending on what we need to put into this motor to reinforce it and build it up to be able to handle it. Cause I guess I'm hard on stuff. Nobody told me that. Pikes Peak is hard on stuff.
yeah, well, sure. Goodness. And if you have an opportunity, listeners, again, go also check out her videos. And the cameramen that are doing this stuff for her have really picked up some really cool shots that I would say, not just stills, but movies. It's like, oh my gosh. And that thing, what is it? What is that winding out to? It's got to be 10 to 12K.
It can go to 14,000. Again, at Pikes Peak, we were having rev limiting issues, so it depended on how smoothly I was on the throttle, but most of the time I was shifting about 12 to 13,000 RPM. And it sounds to me like a little F1 car. I mean, I guess it's a
Yeah.
motorcycle high revving engine, but I come from the world of American muscle. A V8 that revs to 7,000 is a lot. So having a
Uh-huh.
car that revs to like 14,000 is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Winds a lot. So
Hmm.
how's racing for ALS doing?
I think we're doing really, really good. And I say I'm just a warrior. I'm just a face person. I don't do anything behind the scenes. We got Marion and Scott Lloyd who are just killing it behind the scenes, but we've picked up a large financial sponsor, MongoDB, who is covering all the behind the scenes costs, like putting on events, car maintenance, renting the track. So we are still able to maintain that every penny donated to Racing for ALS goes to the triple target funding, which is Duke Neurology, ALS TDI, which is a nonprofit research facility, dedicated to ALS research. And then we have our Patients Assistance Fund, which also we provide grants, and we have vans to transport people and vans that can be used by people with ALS. So doing so much good. I'm so honored and so proud to be a part of that organization.
Yeah.
And obviously it's very close to my heart.
Sure it is. It's very, very special. I was actually interviewing a gentleman yesterday for the other podcast for Toward a Better Life, and he actually is in stage 2 ALS. And I never realized that I guess he said something about there are 5 stages to ALS, and when you're at stage 5, that's it. But he's been told that he's got some time left being on stage 2, and I guess he's on a drug right now that I guess I don't remember. I'm probably wrong on this, but something about it. They've tested it or they've used it a lot in Europe, and it's like $3,000 a shot, and he gets a shot every month. And wow, it's just there is no cure for it, but there's a lot of support that can be given to it, and there's so much research that's going for it, and the possibilities are almost endless. I mean, I know of people, we think of Stephen Hawking and we think of other people that have the Vox, and the Vox, in case you don't understand it, is where you get to the point where you can't function anymore, and the only thing that you have that works are your eyes. And they would look at a panel and they would be able to speak to you using their eye movement. And that I know of situations like that personally, and it's just your heart really goes out to people like that, and you say, "Wow, it's got to be tough." And I hear of stories of people literally go on for 15 to 20 years in situations. So what you guys are doing is phenomenal. Are they only involved? Is ALS racing for ALS? Is it only in the type of motorsport you do, or are they in other motorsports?
So there's time trials, HPDEs. We actually have an event happening this weekend. So this will be a little post dated once it comes out. But
Hmm.
Zilla is a racing organization or an HPDE organization that has been working very closely with Racing for ALS. And they have put on, I believe this is the third or fourth annual event, and it's called Charlotte Motor Speedway Under the Lights, which
Mm,
is really, really exciting because not only are you driving an iconic NASCAR track, but you get to drive it in the dark under the
mm,
lights. And obviously, a portion of entries and donations made at the event go to Racing for ALS. We've had Carolyn's race at Road Atlanta. I believe we have an event coming up at Barber, and then our biggest event is Dave's Race 6 happening at VIR, and that's the sixth annual Racing for ALS event, and it's one of our most largest events, and I'm excited. Like that's one of the events that's just like super fun that I look forward to all year. And so anybody participating in a driving event put on by Racing for ALS has the option of just paying their entry, or you can fundraise. So I actually fundraise
mm.
from my entry to Dave's Race 6, and it's through a Mighty Cause page. And like you said, Kevin, thank you so much. You can find that through Racing or Ryan Cheek Racing on Facebook.com or Facebook. Oh, I also have RyanCheekRacing.com. I forget I have all this social media. You can't just be a driver anymore. You now have to be like social media. You have
Uh,
to his spokesperson. I love it. This is my dream. I love driving. I love the fan fest. I love getting to represent Racing for ALS and honor, such an honorable cause. I love speaking to you. So, you know, I don't want to like romanticize my life because it's crazy and hectic and stressful, but I love every moment of this.
well, that means that you're not working a day, according to Confucius. Because Confucius said that if you love doing what you do, you never work a day in your life. So you stopped working, and that's fine.
I wish I still have a regular job that I have to do so I can make money to race.
That's it. That's it. And I should say, just for a plug for you too, Ryan, that if someone wanted to actually support and help you Do they do it through your website, ryancheekracing.com, or Facebook, or how do they do that?
So there's a couple of ways right now. The best way to support me is by supporting me through Racing for ALS, and that is the donations towards Dave's race, which is the Mighty Cause page, which I do have a link on the Facebook page. I do have a donation little button on my webpage that you can donate to me. But if you donate to Racing for ALS, it's 100% tax deductible as well.
Mm.
So it's a two benefactor donation. But yeah, if anybody just wants to send me a check or another race car or invite me to drive their race car, you can absolutely do that. I will. I probably won't say no.
We still haven't done what we talked about. I still haven't gotten behind your Mustang, and you haven't gotten behind my BMW. So at some point we'll have to get together. And the irony of for everyone's understanding is, what are we, maybe 25 miles apart, and we've never met outside of this thing. So someday.
I I know. Actually, a little anecdote story. I've been on social media for quite a few years, been a Mustang girl for quite a few years, and I had met a fellow Mustang girl out in She lived in Colorado. Such a cool car. She drag raced, so I tried drag racing, and I autocross, so she tried autocross, and we've just kind of been supporting each other on social media for years. She's such a huge advocate for all women in any kind of sports. But she came and watched me at Pikes Peak, and I finally got to meet her in person. So you might have to come to Pikes Peak to meet me in person. I'm
Oh, okay.
joking. I'm joking.
Oh, I'm not, because it's
But
been a while since I've been there, and it's beautiful. It's really phenomenal. And you clarified something for me a little while ago. I thought that you were only able to actually race before 8:30 or 9 o'clock in the morning. But did they actually? I'm guessing then they must, because of the time of day you raced, they closed the peak for that day.
that is the only day that they shut down Pikes Peak for any other reason than like not a holiday or snow kind of stuff. But yeah, they do shut the whole park down on race day for Pikes Peak. But you are correct on like practice days. I was waking up at 1 a.m. We were leaving our house at like 2:45. We were on the mountain at 3:15, and then we had to get off the mountain by 9 a.m. So crazy, crazy schedule.
They
Still
say,
still getting back to normal. It is
okay.
still wild.
So what's a great driving experience for Ryan now?
I'm so spoiled, but in the same regard, I still get a little adrenaline rush when I'm racing our Appalachian Hill Climb series, our 2 mile long hill climbs. People have offered me some co-drives here at Charlotte Motor Speedway this weekend, and that kind of gets my blood going. I think anything performance driving, anything, just it gets me going. I get excited, and I look forward to those experiences.
Oh, and one thing just came to me. There are a lot of women drivers out there who are phenomenal, and I've had an opportunity to speak to a few, including you. And it's always exciting for that. But if we have somebody who is a young lady that would really like to get into racing, where's a good place to start?
I always say autocross. Autocross, autocross, autocross. SCCA has a great autocross program. We have one local to us here in Western North Carolina called excuse me, Highland Sports Car Club, and they currently have a great pad out in Franklin. We do the Tire Rack Street Survival Schools. But autocross is the safest and most fun way to push your car, not tear your car up,
Hmm.
and learn car control. Find the limit at 30 or 40 miles an hour is a lot better than heading straight to track and trying to take a turn at 80 or 90 miles an hour and realizing you didn't quite have it. So autocross, autocross, autocross. It also helps you learn a course very quickly. It helps you visually recognize the turns that you need to start making ahead of time, which really helps in hill climb, because hill climb is a road and it could be 156 turns, and memorizing 156 turns is a lot. So
Yeah, it is.
being able to read the turns can help you immensely.
Oh, since our last time too, all this stuff now is really starting to come to mind. Uh, you're a lot more involved in SCCA than you were the last time we talked.
I'm this is my third year working as the time trials administrative assistant on the national program. I'm basically John Hunter's secretary, who is our manager, our lead guy. He does it all. But yeah, SCCA was kind of a serendipitous home fall for me. I ended up at a hill climb and I ended up meeting Hayward Wagner, who was like, you should come do a time trials. So I went and did a time trials nationals as my first like on track competition, which I had a blast. The environment is so welcoming. It allows people of all experiences to show up, have a good time. Obviously, you're going to have really fast people that are more advanced drivers and they're out there to set records and take wins. But then you got somebody that just wanted to do a track day that can come out and have just as much fun. So, and then, a year and a half into it, I got offered a job. So I get to work from home in motorsports, talking about my passion. I'm really deep into motorsports.
Excellent. Any last thought that you have that you'd like to share with our listeners today?
Oh, goodness. I think I said this prior, but if you can dream it, you can do it, especially if you have the right people in your corner. Don't ever give up on yourself. It's okay to have bad days. It's okay to take rest days, but keep following your passion. Do what you really love, and you'll be happy.
Great. Ryan Cheek, always a joy to meet with you and share with you. This has been delightful. Go out and enjoy a great drive today. Get away from the desk for a little bit and just enjoy a drive in the Appalachians.
I sure will. Thank you so much, Kevin. I really appreciate you having me back on.
Thanks a lot for sharing your dream with us, Ryan. You can connect with Ryan Cheek Racing through her Facebook page and also her website, ryancheekracing.com. Be sure to like, follow, and share the driving experience on the podcast platform of your choice, and leave a review if you don't mind. I'd like that. If you have any questions or if you'd like to be my guest on the show, write to me, Kevin at towardabetterlife.com. That's Kevin at towardabetterlife.com. And speaking of Toward a Better Life, if you're seeking answers to create a better life for yourself and others through self-care, self-help, and activities focused on wellness, be sure to check out Toward a Better Life podcast, also available on the platform of your choice. Until next time, be safe out there and enjoy your driving experience.